When the war broke out, I was in school in Amsterdam, and within 2 or 3 days, the whole city of Amsterdam was just full of military vehicles from the Germans.
I remember when the invasion took place in 1940, my sister and I were just 6 and 3, and we sat in the kitchen in a chair crying. You know, you could tell there was so much stress and tension, you know, and just we couldn't believe that had happened. Rotterdam had been bombed, and that really was the clincher, and we knew that it was going to be trouble.
The morning that the war started, my sister was killed. My father was a very ill man. My mother had nerve problems. So when my sister got killed, our family kind of died. It made it for a very hard start in the war.
The Germans had put a stricture on food distribution in The Hague, and so they forced families like ourselves to move out into the countryside, where we were treated with a great deal of suspicion because we were from the city, and life was not that easy for us in the countryside.
People would always be alert if Germans would come looking for someone. Have you seen so-and-so? And they were talking to him half an hour ago. No, I have no idea. So with a straight face, you really learned to lie.
They had razzias, and we were deadly afraid of that. That means roundups. And our onderduiker, our friend, and my dad would go under the floor in the manse. There was some sort of we had to roll up the carpet and open up the floor, and they would disappear there and stay there till the Germans disappeared.
Starving, we were starving, I mean, there's no doubt about it. The Germans had an emergency post for food. It was in a big cast iron tub, and they were brown beans. They gave us a scoop of it, and we ate it. They were spoiled. And we were already undernourished badly, and we got deathly ill.
And then there were always people that were hidden and had to be fed. And you couldn't hide in a house because the Germans would go to the house and looked everywhere for it. And we had a lot of these underground sort of caves where we hid the people. We had no electricity, so we had to always pump water. And we had all this for these 25 people, but all these houses had to be provided with water, and it was all by hand.
And we just barely made it to Utrecht, where we were taken up in one of the halls of the Dom church, and they only took people that were on the verge of not making it. And for the dysentery we had, they fed us charcoal pills. That's the only kind of medicine they had.
But then people from the west would come on their rickety, miserable bicycles and would try to do trading, because money wasn't all that great either, you know, and they would bring treasure, and, you know, things would be easily transported and then barter them for food.
I did starve during the famous hunger winter of 45. And I myself was put into hospital for 6 weeks. And I do remember, or my mother telling me how she traveled during this hunger winter on a bike without any tires, on very rough roads, as you can well imagine.
We had all these people in the house and other places and so on. And my mother went to the village. As she traveled there, she was stopped by a policeman and said, you have quite a few men in your household there? I said, yeah. Don't ask any more questions. Tell everybody to get out of the village altogether. And that is actually what saved my life, because that was then the time that the Germans were rounding up all men that you could possibly get. And as I said, of those 730 people, most of them were just worked to death.
I don't think we saw ourselves as a survivor or as a victim. That kind of language was absent. This was taken to be quite natural, to survive these experiences and to overcome them. But even those words, overcome, that was not part of the vocabulary.
Against war's end, they were just young boys. They didn't know any better either. They were just swept up by Hitler and his propaganda, and, you know, very sad.
The only way we knew that we were liberated was the planes that flew over the village, and they dropped thousands of pamphlets saying the war is over. May 5th, the Germans signed the armistice and the war is over.
Liberation was just unbelievable. We had Canadians come in, and Canadians, well, it was just feasts suddenly. And for us, horrible to say, they had cigarettes.
We were liberated by Canadians. Well, we worshipped them. I mean, we thought they were all wonderful and handsome, and they would always give us candy and chewing gum and things that we hadn't seen for ages, you know.
Canadians that have liberated our country, and it's not just me, it is basically all of Holland, this incredible gratitude for the lives given.
People from Canada would come and fight in the Netherlands is just priceless. A lot of people lost their lives, a lot of Canadians, and it's a connection that cannot be underestimated. It's just there.